Welcome, Vault Dwellers. My name is Nacho Bidness, and this is episode 36 of my Fallout 4 No Loot Challenge Run. The rules on Xbox here are simple. We are not allowed to use the A button to take anything out of the world, pick anything up, pull anything out of a container, and put it into our character's inventory. Notable exceptions are crops. We are playing on survival mode, and we need something for our character to eat, and we also need something for our character to barter with to get the junk and bullets and guns necessary to play the game. Last time we have been in the Institute and done a couple quests for them, and we're going to continue in that vein, but we're also going to slowly start working our way towards an ending. And I hope that you are looking forward to that. If you are, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so that you can see the rest of the series. And also there's a playlist you can check out. We'll go back to the very beginning. If you like the video, hit the like button. I know everyone says it, but it does help channels grow. If you didn't like, please tell me why in a comment. A dislike without context means that I don't know what it is that I should be working on to make better content for you. Thank you so much for your consideration. One detail that I wanted to get out of the way right up front here was I meant to paint my helmet with Adam Cat's paint and be Adam Cat's paint from head to toe, and I messed up and used the army paint. This is a more appropriate Adam Cat's paint. I still think that Mary's armor looks terrible, that Mark II synth armor is just a collar and does not cover a single vital organ. I don't understand. Nevertheless, with that out of the way, we can go say hello to Sturgis because he gave us a holotape to check out.
Here's that holotape you gave
me. The computer network
of Institute
in
data.
the Institute.
I hope.
Well, all right. I'll start digging into this and see if I can make heads or tails of it.
What do you think you might find?
Whatever the Institute doesn't want anybody to know. All the good stuff on here is going to be encrypted. So the first job is to see if I can crack it. After that, well, I'll have to see what I've got. There's no telling what we might have grabbed off their mainframe.
Well, I hope it's interesting. At this point, Mary is convinced the Institute needs to stop making synths. She's not sure 100% whether synths are malfunctioning machines that are getting out of control or actual sentient beings that are fighting for their freedom, but in either case, the Institute doesn't need to be making any more of them. And she is starting to lean towards they are sentient beings and have the right to determine their own destiny. And to that end, she's also thinking that because she has been declared the head of the Institute, maybe she can redirect the place. It feels like the people in the Institute have been terribly selfish in what they have done and how they have acted towards the Commonwealth. And she's thinking maybe she might be able to do something about that. However, we have a bit of a conundrum because we only really have one quest in our quest log that we can even try. We tried mass fusion last week and couldn't even get into the building because we were going to have to loot a key card to activate an elevator. And everything else on the quest log here has a similar problem in that there is an item somewhere that we have to pick up that we can't if we're going to follow the rules. Now, I have been forced on some occasions to do that, and if I get boxed in with no way to advance, I will go ahead and pick up an item. And I have a loot counter that I show on the screen, should be showing it right now, that details how many times we've had to do that throughout the course of our adventures. For now, though, we do have one area in front of us that we can go try and address, and that is the quest House Divided. And while we're at it, I think we are going to take a look at the FEV lab for Bidness. We're not going to be able to pick up his serum, but we can at least take a look at the lab.
What's going on?
Hello, Newton
Dr.
Overley.
Higgs and Dr. Loken have decided to protest your appointment as father's successor. They've taken control of the bioscience security systems and cut off our food supply.
That is kind of a dick move. Have they made any demands?
Not yet, but I expect they'll...
Oh, there is your head!
announce all ties
Oh
to-
my gosh! That was horrifying. Can we reason with
I
them?
can reason.
Mr. Disappearing
I believe I
Head
can help
Man?
with that. I can unlock the maintenance tunnel that leads to the bioscience observation room. From there, you should be able to communicate with Higgs and Logan. If you can't reason with them, you can use this holotape to access the command functions on the observation room terminal. That should give you some options. Just please, try to talk to them first. Use violence only as a last resort.
Well, that is kind of how Mary operates. Violence is always Mary's last resort. She would much rather talk her way out of any situation. But, for now at least, we have a... Well, we have a hallway to walk down. I guess there's nothing more exciting to say than that. There's a hallway, and there's some sense, and we're going to shoot at them. They are pretty perceptive, though. They detected Mary without her having first given herself away with gunshots or anything, so good on you, Synths. And we are sleepy, which is not a thing that I want to be right now. Do I still have a Nuka Cola? I'm all loaded down with corn from the Covenant settlement because we've got just corn growing on and have not visited a vendor yet. I think it's probably kind of funny that, you know, so when Mary comes in and trades with the Institute, she's doing it with some pretty, what's the nice way to say it? She's doing it with some very rural stuff. You know, she walks in and she's got basically a big pile of vegetables, some hardcore drugs that are more or less the Fallout version of meth, and some glue. Not a thing that I think the Institute would look at and say, like, ooh, this is such a great thing that you're trading for. I feel like they're more or less bartering with her out of a sense of pity. Alright, now the FEV lab. I will admit that I have done this little bit once before. I was a dummy and I got to hit record. So yeah, we did not get footage of it, so I'm having to actually do this again, which means that I know exactly where all the layers of turrets are going to be. We can dispatch them with haste. And fortunately, none of these terminals that are in here are anything other than novice, and we're going to be able to unlock them all. And with the doors open, we can proceed. There is an Assaultron in this room, and if we're lucky, she is going to be facing away from us. Not so lucky, but with Penetrator, I think we can still get a shot on. So, as long as we see those Assaultrons before they see us, no problem. And yeah, there are more turrets down this hallway. I'll just quickly take these guys out. And I'm going to unlock some doors for some experience points because there are some novice locked doors around here. At least there were. Here we go. This is a grim scene. A dead super mutant with some toys and a dead kitty cat. I have to wonder if they did not dip a child, and that was kind of their playroom, as it were. I sincerely hope not. We're going to drop the junk that we just got from disarming that trap, because that has been our rule, is we can disarm traps, but we cannot take any benefit from it in the way of things that we have picked up. One more open door, and we are at the FEV lab itself. And what do you know, there is Virgil's serum right there, but we cannot pick it up for him. He's going to be very upset the next time we see him. And I think this is the point where Mary decides that Father/Sean is irredeemable, because not only do we have a lot of records of different people that have been snatched from the Commonwealth and turned into super mutants, and I mean a lot, because if these subject names make any sense, and I think they do, because so anything that has an F in the second digit is female. So I'm not sure what the C stands for, but anything with an F in the second digit is female, anything with an M in the second digit is male. Very likely they just numbered these sequentially, which means that we have 224 plus women and 187 plus men that have been taken from their homes and turned into super mutants. Further, if you read these progress reports, like, they weren't doing anything. Like, they just did these tests over and over because clearly there were no ethics professors that got pulled into the Institute when the war started, and professors and students were taking refuge in the basement of the college here. It's just, this is disgusting and unforgivable. And the fact that Father not only allowed this to continue, but was irritated at Virgil for asking to stop, means the man has no conscience whatsoever. Now, I could actually go through that door to bioscience, but there is a barrier, a laser barrier, that prevents me from going out that door, and have not been able to find any way to open it. So actually I end up having to march back through the rest of the dungeon. There's the door. Fortunately, it's not terribly long, and we can get to bioscience going the other way. And just because we're about to do some speechifying, let's go ahead and get our speech gear on. There's the newsboy cap. So, got our charisma up as high as we can get it, and let's go talk to some scientists / terrorists.
Made it past the guards, hmm? Impressive.
Yep,
If
here I
you come
am.
to change our minds, then you're wasting your time.
You know, there is a better way to say that you're unhappy with me being in
I
charge.
know you're angry, but there's a better way to handle this.
Oh, you're wrong. You see, I've tried talking. For years, I've suggested that we do things differently here, but nobody listens. Let's see if anyone can afford to ignore me now.
Well, you were talking to Father for years, and I'm different. Maybe
Father
you should give me a
believes in me.
chance.
The least you can do is give me a chance.
How could you hope to lead us when you hardly know anything about what we do? I'm sure you mean well, but you must see that it's an impossible task.
I can learn what's going on. Like, Mary's not an idiot. I think that you need to keep an open
maybe
mind.
not. All I'm asking is that you keep an open mind.
I'm sorry, but our minds are made up. Both Dr. Loken and I have resolved to stand our ground.
You guys are children. You're throwing a temper tantrum. Give me a
Can't you
chance.
at least give me a chance.
A chance? What do you think, Max?
Even the most fastidious researcher must sometimes take a leap of faith. I say let's give it a try.
Very well, then. Open the door, and let's return to the fold.
Since, abort command override and resume normal function.
You made the right decision, because if you made the wrong one, this was going to have to end in violence. And you did not want this to end in violence. Mary started off as a waif of a housewife, but she has been through hell and back, and is a hardened combat veteran and would not stand a chance.
I honestly thought Dr. Lee or Dr. Holdren would be appointed to succeed Father.
Max?
And they might have been if I hadn't been around.
If you're really going to be the next director of the Institute.
Fair enough.
Dr. Higgs.
We have several people qualified to become the next director. Father's lost his mind.
I don't know. You have several scientists. And scientists, by and large, do not have the temperament to be leaders. Scientists and engineers both tend to have a bit of an ego, and yet deal very poorly with people.
Bravo. I admit,
They're
I
just
was
not
fearing
good
the
at it.
worst,
So
but I can see that I
yeah,
underestimated you.
finding someone with the temperament to be both a leader and a scientist or engineer is rare. But they listen
Just
to
why they
reason.
listen to
Good
reason.
for them.
Indeed. There is one further matter to discuss. Obviously, some kind of disciplinary action must be taken here. The question of what form it takes is up to you.
I don't think Mary's going to be executing anyone just for being doubtful about her qualifications. And kicking them out is tantamount to execution. They wouldn't stand a chance in the Commonwealth. We're also not going to just let them get away with this. They threatened
Put them
the
on
lives
probation.
of
Limit
everybody
their
in the
access
Institute
to
by withholding
quarters
food.
and
Put them on
non-working
probation.
areas.
That's more than fair. I'll see to it that everyone's notified. I'll take that holotape back. I also wanted to offer you something as a more personal expression of gratitude. I know that your work often takes you to the surface where supplies are scarce. I gathered these items together for you. I think you'll find them useful.
All right. Well, he is, I guess, familiar with the world of Fallout
Nice
and
work bringing
the
that
answers to
red
everything, because the answers to everything in Fallout are usually drugs. And he just gave us a big pile of drugs.
Express how truly humbling it is to
For
stand.
now, I am thirsty, and I am hungry, and I am sleepy. So I'm going to take care of all of those things. But we have a conundrum now, because we have no more quests in our quest log. There is not one quest in the log that is a quest that we can do. And that is a bit of a problem. And I told you that I have gotten to this point before. I got a disease in the Institute, sleeping in a bed here. You have got to be kidding me.
Nice work. bringing that synth back.
Somewhere around here there's a doctor who might be able to
Sounds like those
treat
guys in
me.
Natalia were quite a handful.
I suppose I could always go back to Higgins Alley. Anyways, yeah, so I frankly haven't figured out what to do. I suppose I could advance one of the faction quests, but I really don't want to. Like, if I have to pick one, I suppose I'll pick the railroad, because I think it would be interesting just to see, like, can we get to the end of the game with Dance still locked in the basement of ArcJet Systems? You know, to spend the entire game in that one room. But yeah, I should probably be kicked out of the Institute after what happened at Bunker Hill, and I wasn't. So I'm not exactly sure what to do. Let me think about it. I visited Dance at ArcJet, nothing. I visited Preston at Starlight Drive-In, also nothing. And Sturgis, also nothing. But when I approached Desdemona, she had something for me. And although all the railroad agents are saying, get out of here, Desdemona is at least willing to speak with me. Now, if this doesn't work, I don't know how we're going to progress.
Desdemona.
So, Desdemona.
Get out of here.
We've heard some very disturbing things about you. That you
Oh, and not least, I failed tradecraft at some point, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to proceed with the railroad or not. So, I would rather help the railroad.
Far too little, far too late. There's no way we can trust you now. Get the hell out of here, and don't come back.
Uh-oh. We could be in trouble, because I can't go back and do tradecraft now to get in good with the railroad. And so
Desdemona.
Just leave.
the Minutemen are not willing to do anything. They just are stuck. And I've not been banished from the Institute.
Get out of here.
We might be at a dead end. This is bad. This is... I'm gonna have to just stop, probably take a look at the wiki, and figure out what to do next. So I came back to the Institute and looked around just to see if there was anything I could possibly be missing, and found that there were a number of side quests available to me. So I picked up as many as I could find, and we'll see if they somehow manage to advance the plot. I do not expect this to work, but I'm going to at least try. And frankly, because I am trying to get this series wrapped up, I am going to do those side quests off camera. I will only hit record if there's something of actual interest to the main plot. Basically, what we're going to do are, we're going to try appropriation. I don't think that's going to work because it's a retrieve blueprints. It drops a transmitter off to some synths, deliver some seeds, and look at some terminals. And, oh, and one more. There's a flesh sample that we need to collect. I'm curious, will this show up on the map as a map marker anywhere? Interesting. In Fallon's department store. So, not going to be able to just go to the nearest big super mutant and pick that up. Because we're going to be doing some Institute quests, let's go ahead and pick up X688. I don't like X688. And
Excuse me.
Actually,
Ready for
wait.
the
are
next
you-
mission, man?
Yes. So X688 is
Let's move out.
available
Right
as a
behind
companion.
you, ma'am.
I have actually gone ahead and bought synth armor for a human companion. Codsworth is carrying that, and he is currently going to Starlight Drive-In. I did have to somewhat
Nothing else for now.
ruthlessly cut down on my inventory, and that means that I did sell my mini nuke, but I don't have any. I didn't have any plans for it, so I figured might as well. If there is something that I see coming up that I think a mini nuke would be useful, I will see about trying to buy another one at Hangman's Alley. Meantime, I've got all these side quests to do, and although I don't expect them to result in any actual main quest progress, as I said, we gotta try, because right now I am stuck. I am stuck and I am stumped, and I am wondering if I'm even going to be able to complete this run. We'll get back to you when these side quests are done and see how we're doing.
Now nobody can lock us out.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in my head in the real world, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Mary's head in game. So real world, I need to get kicked out of the Institute to advance the game. And that is because I am locked out of the railroad hardcore. Like, they have said that they're going to shoot me on sight the next time they see me. The Brotherhood of Steel is locked out because Paladin Dance is still hanging out in the basement of ArcJet Systems. And to advance the Institute, I would have to loot multiple items as part of the Mass Fusion quest. At least a keycard to get into Mass Fusion and the Beryllium Agitator to bring back to the Institute. So, as I said, we need to get kicked out of the Institute, and I thought perhaps if I could get X688 angry enough at me that maybe he would finally turn hostile, and that would be my way to get kicked out. That would be something that would at least kind of be in keeping with the story. It turns out that it is extraordinarily difficult to get X688 to get that mad at you, especially when you have already completed the vast majority of the game. There are very few quests available, in fact none that I could find looking at the wiki, that where X688 would dislike things that I have done.
We are honored to welcome you.
Exception being the Institute quests. So I went and intentionally failed multiple Institute quests. I get the one with the Warwick Farm in order to try and get X688 mad, and I also framed Justin Ao as a sympathizer who was helping synths to escape. And other quests, I just didn't do them. And I spent a lot of time doing that, and it wasn't enough. But I also know that X688 doesn't like it if you are naked. And so I spent about 8 hours running around the Commonwealth without any clothes on and picking crops and making the vegetable glue, the adhesive, oh doggone, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, the vegetable adhesive you can make out of mute fruit and corn and potatoes. I made a lot of drugs, and X688 doesn't like it when you take drugs, so I took a boatload of jet. Mary was super addicted. None of it was enough. I came back to the Institute and spent one night here, and that was enough for X688 to pull me aside and have a conversation about how much he liked me. It is, I think, if it is possible, I don't have the time to try and get this guy to hate me.
Hey.
So
Yeah?
I am going to dismiss him. And let's make sure that he doesn't have anything in his inventory before we let him go. Nope, those are just the things that he had,
Hey.
so
What do you need?
X688,
Hey there.
I think
go.
that it is. Okay, thank you for the fusion cells, but it is time
You
for
can
you to
go
go.
It's been an honor, ma'am.
Now, my preference would be to just leave him here in the Institute, but that is not an option. However, Warwick Homestead got unlocked because failing the quests didn't help. I went ahead and went back and did them, or at least the Warwick Homestead quest, to get the XP from it. And that unlocked that settlement. So did failing it, actually. Failing it meant that you had to murder the entire Warwick family. And yeah, it's another settlement. I didn't want another settlement. I ain't got time for another settlement. I'm not even going to bother setting up supply lines. They don't have adequate water. I don't care. I am done with settlements on this playthrough. One last thing to cover, and this is really super disappointing for me. I don't know where or how or when, but you can see it here that magazines found has ticked up to 2. And I am at a complete loss. I can't figure out what it is. And I went back to the earliest save that I have. In survival mode, you only get 3, and that was also 2. Now, I do have 1 rank of Barbarian, but that is from the Grognak that was in my own house at the very beginning of the game. It's the only magazine I can remember picking up. None of these other perks are from a magazine. Now, not all magazines give perks. For example, there are 2 ranks of Wasteland Survival Guide that those copies of the magazine, one of them will get you Diamond City as a map marker, and the other unlocks lawn flamingos in the settlement menu. I don't have lawn flamingos, and I haven't been to the Gorski cabin where the Diamond City issue is at in months, real world, in probably a year in game. Like, it is, I don't. So it's not that. It is not the haircut magazine. It is not the tattoo magazine. I checked at surgery centers and barbers, and those are not unlocked. It is not hot rodders. There's no additional power armor paints when I go to the power armor station. And it's none of the DLC magazines, and this one, picket fences. It's none of the copies of picket fences, none of the things that you could build from having picket fences picked up. Further, it's also not Robco Fun. Like, I have been through everything. Furthermore, there's no magazine or holotape or anything in my inventory that would indicate I picked up a magazine. But there it is. I mean, it's in black and white, more or less, that according to the game, I picked up a second magazine. I think it's a glitch. I think it might be something to do with me painting Addon Cat's paint on my armor. But that is speculation. And unfortunately, there's just not a doggone thing I can do about it. And I'm just so disappointed because this menu was how I would be able to show that, yes, I really, Scout's honor, promise on my mother's life that I am not looting outside of, when I'm off camera. At least the chests looted remains at 0, and so does the bobbleheads collected. But yeah, I'm really disappointed that that this has happened, and I cannot explain it. All of that aside, we still have to get kicked out of the Institute, and I know how to do it. But
Nice work.
Mary's going to have to go through some mental gymnastics here to make this happen. Right? We've established so far that she is unsure about whether synths are people or not. But she is very sure that the Institute needs to stop making them because they are either malfunctioning machines or they are sentient beings that deserve rights. And in either of those cases, the Institute needs to be stopped. Furthermore, Mary has discovered the FEV lab and the fact that Father did not put a stop to what was going on in there. And that is, I mean, that's a war crime, right? That is a crime against humanity. What the Institute did there of snatching people from the Commonwealth and dipping them in FEV, and they didn't even have a good reason for doing it. They didn't hope to gain understanding. There was no cure that they were working on. They did it out of habit, and that is unforgivable. You know, the Institute's crimes are ongoing, and at this point, Mary knows that with the death of Father, she will be instated as the head of this organization. She feels like if she were in charge, she might be able to shift this place's course and actually do an enormous amount of good for the Commonwealth. She could do things like stop snatching people in the middle of the night for no good reason, or, for example, the Commonwealth government that was starting to form and the Institute put a stop to it. There was no reason for the Institute to do that. They're so isolated down here. Why would they care? The thing is that cancer is unpredictable, and although Father has what has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, sometimes cancer patients can surprise you, and a doctor might give a patient weeks, and that patient might turn out to live for years. So Mary's decided that years is not something that the Commonwealth can tolerate. Her conscience says that this needs to happen now. If she can somehow seize control of the Institute by assassinating her ostensible son, that is what's going to have to happen. And ultimately, she has no feelings for this man. This stranger that is genetically her child is not someone that she ever raised or cared for beyond, a very young infant. Ultimately, Mary lost Sean when Kellogg pulled him out of Nate's hands, and that synth child, that abomination, is not her son, and neither is this man who claims to be working for the betterment of humanity, but it also claims that the ends justify the means, and that's not okay. So Mary has reluctantly decided that she needs to kill Father. Now, we know in the real world that this is an automatic expulsion from the Institute. If you kill any named character in the Institute, you are going to get kicked out. Mary did that, and she was invisible. All of the doors were closed, and there was no reason or way that anybody should have known that she did that, and yet somehow they do. Maybe there was a camera in Father's office, hard to say. But she also doesn't really believe that the Institute and all of the people in it are outright evil. They are misguided at best. She has no desire to leave this place guns blazing, and so she has opted to take Father's secret elevator out rather than fight through all of the scientists and synths that really potentially could be redeemed. Although she will never be the head of the Institute, maybe whoever does become the head of the Institute will become wiser, and so she's going to take this escape elevator out. So we come and hit the relay button. I am sorry to be giving up this. I tell you what, the not having the vertibird signal grenades and meant that travel was just that much worse in the later parts of this game, and to not be able to now warp back to the center of the map, that sucks. Like, I am not looking forward to all the walking. Still, the good news is that we're getting close to the end of the game, and
how could you do that? He was your son. You'd better run, because if we find you, we're gonna kill you. You hear me? You're dead.
And for Mary, that is kind of the end of the live and let live and hope for redemption for the Institute. They have sworn to kill her. And being the general of the Minutemen has got to count for something. So perhaps the Minutemen will be able to solve this problem. But I see that my quest marker for X688 is still active, and he is automatically hostile. So it's a good thing that we don't plan to ever go to war with Homestead. Because as a companion, I believe he is considered essential. Yeah, he goes down, but he has just a tiny sliver of health left, and it doesn't, no matter how many times I shoot him, he is just going to get back up. So, yeah, we've got a hostile synth that is going to be down at Warwick Homestead, so as I said, best that we're just not going to be going there. And X688, you are lucky that you're essential, because otherwise you would be dead. So, yeah, a lot of talking, not a lot of action, but I felt like I somehow had to explain the corner that I had backed myself into. I did not see this coming at all. So, the good news is that we are getting close, and getting closer to the end of the game. For now, at least, I'm going to get addictions cured and top up supplies, and then we're going to go talk to Preston. Alright, we're back outside my robot workshop here at Starlight, and we have a couple of things to cover before we talk to Preston there. First, we have collected Codsworth as a companion. He is still holding the big boy for us, and he's also holding basically some vendor trash. I made some vegetable starch, and then I've made some improvements to some synth armor. I mentioned that I had bought a complete set of synth armor for a companion while I was at the Institute, and I've decided that we're going to be giving that to Preston. So I've gone ahead and got it all improved with nanofilament, and in the case of the chest, asbestos lining, and some Minuteman paint, whereas all the limbs, I have put some ultralight armor on there, as well as the Minuteman paint, and again, improving it with the nanofilament material, the highest ranking that we can get. We also have a new piece of gear for ourselves that I forgot to mention. If you frame Justin AO and you ask Liam Benet for a better reward and you pass a speech check, you can get his glasses. And these things are flippin' amazing. Intelligence 2 and Charisma 1. At this point, I sorely regret putting away the Destroyer's helmet because that was Intelligence 1 and Charisma 1, which meant that I could have had a total of 5 special points from the stuff I had on my head. As it is, I have elected to move to the synth helmet, which is, I mean, it's good, and agility and perception are nice, but 2 points versus 5 points, that's a pretty big jump. Nevertheless, these things are great, and I am glad to have them, and they have instantly replaced my fashionable glasses, which were only worth Charisma 1. We also have some level ups to do, because I did all that questing for the Institute. I have made so much jet and so much vegetable adhesive and so many creatures that I killed while I was wandering the Commonwealth to pick crops. I have 4 levels to gain. So that's a lot to have banked, but here we are. So I'm going to take the last rank of Grim Reaper Sprint. I think that is a very good perk. I am tempted to maybe get down into 4-leaf clover, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't use criticals quite often enough. And in fact, I am not going to max out Critical Banker. I do like that at level 3, when you bank a critical, you might actually bank 2 criticals, but I don't feel like I need the 4th rank of that. And just kind of looking around, I have already kind of written off the strength tree, and I've even given up my only melee weapon that I've had pretty much this entire game. And perception, I've already got 10 ranks of perception, and I've got kind of everything I want in the perception tree, with the possible exception of demolition expert, but I don't think I can foresee anything upcoming where demolition expert will be all that great. And when it comes to charisma, like, how much more buying and selling realistically am I going to be doing in this run? And there's nothing else in here that is anything that I want, even if I thought I was going to get enough ranks to get Wasteland Whisperer, for example. Man, if I can take a Deathclaw in one shot from sneak attack, like, why would I need to worry about even having that? The only use for it would be to be able to build the beta wave emitter that makes creatures in your settlements not hostile if you catch them with cages. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any building on this run except for that robot workshop. Intelligence, I mean, what would I do with like rank 1 of hacker at this point in the game, right? Scrapper, again, for all the reasons why I've not taken it so far. I'm not picking up any junk or guns or anything else, so why would I bother with Scrapper? Like, there's really just not anything that jumps out at me as being all that great that I think I can get before the end of the game. I mean, Gun Fu would be nice, but I don't know that I'm going to be getting 4 more levels before the end of the game. So, I think that because we are going to be going into some heavy combat, the best thing we can do is get some endurance. And we'll probably just keep getting ranks of endurance for the rest of the game for the hit points, because right now we are at a somewhat paltry 399. I mean, that's a lot of hit points, but for this stage of the game, it's really not. So we'll take that, and our hit points go up to 442. It's a fairly decent improvement. And that leaves us talking with Preston. And oh god, he's going to make me chase him. He's going to make me chase him while I'm over encumbered. Preston, come back here. Now, I am hopeful that with us having so many settlements that we aren't going to have to do. Good for you, Strong. Anyways, I'm kind of hoping that we don't have to actually do 4 ranks. Like, I feel like we have enough settlements. Then again, we never did finish Old Guns. So, I don't exactly know how this is going to go. But Preston, come over here. Jeez. Yes, I do need something. I need you to stop.
The Institute is now our enemy.
I always knew that day was coming. The question now is, what are we going to do about it?
Well, I think we need to get in there. I think it's time to attack.
I say we attack. Take the fight to the Institute.
I'm all for that, but we don't have any way to hit them yet. With any luck, Sturgis will find some way in all that data you swipe. In the meantime, we can focus on building up our strength while Sturgis is working his end. No half measures. This time, when we attack, we finish the job, once and for all. I've got something for you to do right now, actually. I'll mark it on your map. Use all the support we can get. So, see what you can do to help.
Hi.
I am not thrilled about that.
I
don't really want to have
I
a
appreciate
romantic
your
talk
trust
with
in
you.
opening up to
Sturgis,
me
you're
like
just...
Oh,
or,
good.
sorry, Preston,
It's just...
you're not Mary's type.
And it was because of you.
Our
So,
friendship.
it's very
means a lot
nice,
to me
but
too, Preston.
I have more important things for you right now.
I guess we should get back to it, huh?
Hey,
Alright,
Something you
Preston.
need?
Yes,
I want to
I
trade with you.
want you to take all of this synth armor that I'm looking around and put it on. And also, because you are apparently going to make us go chase after more settlements, I am going to stick you in Hangman's Alley, because at least there you're a little bit more centrally located than up here at Starlight
Just let me
Drive.
know if there's anything else you need.
So,
Come with
yes, I need you to
me. I
follow
need
me.
your help.
I'm with you, General.
Except not really.
I'm sure you will take good care of my mistress. Good day to you both.
Take care.
Alright, this is Temporary Cosworth. I need to move Preston, and the thing is that
Okay.
there's so many people at Hangman's Alley, I can't actually use the settlement system move command. I need to recruit Cosworth again, and then,
Please do.
yes, come with me. Then we can move Preston down to any settlement. Like, if I tried this through the settlement menu, there'd be about 2 of these settlements that didn't have too many people in them already. So, Preston, you go to Hangman's Alley, and how are we doing? Is there anything else that we need to do? Aside from put our armor on, all we need to do is head over to Covenant. I also have noted that there is another Minuteman quest in my log here, and I don't know if Preston is going to let us proceed with open quests, so I am also going to probably take this long walk up to the coastal cottage and get that on side. So which is going to be, well, Covenant's more or less on the way to Coastal Cottage. So we'll start there and proceed apace. So this is kind of interesting. The settlers at Covenant have sent us to kill some ghouls at the Super Duper Mart. It was like a long way from Covenant, and I'm less interested in the ghouls and more interested in what in the world is going on with those birds up there. It is kind of wild. Anyways, let's go kill some ghouls in Super Duper Mart at level, what are we, like 75? Something like that? I believe these guys are locked to a low level, and let's see, what level are we? We're going to have to stand up to see properly. Level 77. So, yeah, this should be fairly trivial, even on survival mode, assuming that we don't get swarmed. And I do have a certain amount of nostalgia when it comes to the Super Duper Mart. This was one of the first locations that I remember visiting in Fallout 4, outside of Sanctuary and Red Rocket, and I was excited. It was a callback to Fallout 3, and I fully expected that it would be raiders in here, and it was not. It was my first encounter with ghouls in Fallout 4, and yeah, the ghouls were a lot different from what I was expecting. Still, like I said, this is going to be just maybe too easy at this level. So we have managed to kill the ghoul that actually mattered. We could go ahead and finish off the rest of the ghouls that are around here, but there's kind of no point to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can remember how to get out the back door. And this is not it. There's a loading dock somewhere. At any rate, yeah, these guys are really no problem, especially with this automatic plasma pistol. So I will see you again, maybe up at the Coastal Cottage. Yep. So we can make sure that we didn't leave our... Oh, here's the way to the garage. Yeah. So that we could make sure that we weren't leaving any open quests with the Minutemen. See you there. Well, I skipped showing anything at Coastal Cottage because it just wasn't very interesting. There was some robots there from the Rust Devils, and we killed them, and we set up a recruitment beacon. I actually turned it off immediately because I just don't want to deal with any more settlers. I also, to get that recruitment beacon set up, I did have to set up a supply line, and I have broken the way that I have been doing them, of just every time I get to a new settlement, I go to the last one. I would have had to trek all the way over to Covenant and then all the way back. And I'm frankly ready to finish this game, but we might be in trouble on that. More on that in a second. Meanwhile, we did gain another level. I am getting a lot of experience points just from making glue, and I think I'm just going to keep investing in endurance. We were at 620 with our hit points with our armor on, and now we're at 664. So, yeah, even without our armor on, and instead with our persuasion gear on, it didn't change. Why was it so much lower before? Because I am currently well rested, and that's an extra 2 endurance. Anyway, yeah, we're going to keep taking more endurance just to make Mary a little bit more tanky for these final battles. That's if we can ever get to those final battles, because what's supposed to happen with the Form Ranks quest is if you have less than 8 settlements, Preston's supposed to give you quests until you get 8 settlements. And instead,
Whatever you need.
he has been giving us Radiant quests. I kind of played ahead and then loaded a previous save.
What
and
now?
Preston is, instead of, he will let us turn in Coastal Cottage,
What now?
and
You better
he
see
is
if they
going
need to come
to
defend themselves.
let us turn in the ghoul problem, and, well, he's now going to work out for a while.
Is there something you need?
Preston, yeah, could you stop for a minute? Anyways, so yeah, now we have a quest to go defend Taffington Boathouse.
Okay.
And that worries me. I don't know if maybe I've got some kind of bug where he is just going to give me an infinite number of Radiant quests. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do at least 10 of those if he gives me that many. And if none of that advances the game, well, we're going to have to talk about what we might try and do next. I have one last thought, one last trick up my sleeve if this doesn't work. But yeah, I am concerned. I may very well have broken the game, and although that is an interesting result in and of itself, it's not very doggone satisfying. I want to finish, right? So yeah, I'll do some Radiant quests for Preston, and let's just see how that goes, and I'll talk to you after we're done with that. Folks, we have a serious problem. And not just that Preston is holding his gun weird. It has been a few days in the real world since I last checked in with you, and several hours of gameplay. I have completed 9 Radiant quests for Preston, and still no advancement for Form Ranks. That is pretty bad. Now, the Form Ranks quest requires that you have 8 Minutemen settlements, and I'm not entirely sure if maybe settlements that you gain that were not a quest that was given to you by Preston is, maybe those settlements that I got just kind of because I was passing through, maybe those don't count. So I am going to try and get just a few more with Preston as my companion, but there's frankly not many more to get. In fact, if you look here, I had 20 settlements unlocked when I started this mess, and I'm up to 24. There's only 30 settlements in the base game. Yeah, it is looking kind of grim. So that's where we're at. We have done so much. We've killed so many enemies, made so much glue and so much jet that I have now 4 perks to take. So I am going to take a rank of Aqua Girl just so that I can move up and down the coast a little bit more quickly. And since I have doctors available in a few settlements, and frankly so many caps that if I need a doctor in a settlement, I'll just build one. And I'm going to go ahead and max out agility so that we can get the most action points we can. After that, if we continue to gain levels, we'll work on getting endurance maxed out. But I am just kind of beside myself. Now, because I was tasked with getting a settler that was kidnapped out of Hub City auto sales over there. I have also passed by Finch Farm, and although Preston didn't give me this quest, I've got him with me as my companion, so I sure hope this counts as a Minuteman settlement. Regardless, this is an interesting situation because to get Finch Farm on side, you normally have to return with, I can't remember his name, but Mr. Finch's father's sword. And I'm not sure I can get that even if I wanted to, because when I killed Slag in Saugus Ironworks over there, he fell into the vat of molten metal. And I can't quite reach the corpse. So Preston was able to reach the corpse, and he has, because when you tell a companion to search a corpse, they don't have to actually get right next to it, and you can stand quite far away and point at that corpse and have them activate it. So Preston was able to get everything but the sword. Now I've gone ahead and thrown almost all of that away. However, he also managed to pick up the Saugus Roof Key, which I am not going to take out of his inventory because once I have it in mine, I can't get rid of it. So we are going to have to up the loot counter for companions, but this is, after all, pretty inconsequential. Really no gameplay benefit to it other than I was able to get on the roof and snipe off some gunners from the roof of the ironworks, but I could have handled that from the ground going through Hub City. Still, I was able to save Jake. So I'm curious, what happens if you come back with this man's son, but you don't come back with the sword? Is Finch Farm going to become one of my settlements? Because the objective says meet the Finches with the sword. I don't have the sword, but I got Jake, and ultimately, isn't he more important than any sword?
Boy, I told you that if I showed you a face here again,
Is that my boy come home?
What? Jake's back?
Oh, thank God. Papa, please. I know I screwed up pretty big.
Too nice.
I thought if I joined up, I could keep them from raiding our farm.
I didn't. I don't want to hurt anybody.
I don't care what you thought. I told you.
Abraham Francis Finch, that's enough.
Mama, if...
Shut up, Jake. If I hear anything out of either of you, you'll both be peeling potatoes for the next year. I've watched you two go
potatoes
and tried to let you sort it out for yourselves. Abraham, your son is a grown man. And if you expect him to act like one, then you'd better stop treating him like a child. Jake, your father and I have been out there, and we know it can be dangerous. We just want to make sure you're prepared. There, it's over. And if I hear another word about it from either of you, so help me.
She's right.
Thanks again for getting me out of there.
Alright, so I did not see a quest complete.
Mr. Finch.
She's right. I've been a fool. There's no way I can thank you enough. Here's something for your help. I think you should hang on to that sword. It'd put a smile on Granddad's face to know it was being used to help.
Well, sure thing. I've got the sword. I'm not going to show it to you, but sure, got it right here. Okay, well, can we activate the workshop? Yes, we can. Okay, well, we have another settlement, and I guess that's okay. Preston, do you have anything else that you want to say, or do you just want to wax romantic?
What's on your mind?
You're the best leader the Minutemen have had since General Becker.
Oh, bollocks.
Okay.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to keep doing these Radiant quests until we have all of the settlements unlocked and see if that does anything. We could be in trouble. To say that we are having some technical difficulties is to put it mildly. When I was unlocking Finch Farm, that unlocked the 25th settlement for this character. And the remaining 5, 2 of them are unavailable to me. The first is the Abernathy Farm, which requires completing a fetch quest or murdering the Abernathy family. The second is Boston Airport, since I have not been introduced to the Brotherhood of Steel and the Minutemen have not destroyed the Brotherhood of Steel. It means that we cannot collect Boston Airport. The other 3 I have gone ahead and obtained. That was the home plate, which there are so many rules and weird things that surround that particular workshop that I'm not sure whether or not it would even count towards this quest. And there was also Spectacle Island that I went ahead and just got. Preston was probably never going to give me that quest. The final was Bunker Hill, and that was very trivial. All we had to do was talk to, I can't remember her name, the leader of that settlement after the Battle of Bunker Hill, and I had frankly just avoided it because I didn't want any more settlements. I didn't want to take the time to mess with more settlements. None of that has gotten us anywhere. And so I started looking online and found some references that perhaps it was that you needed to have 8 settlement recruitment beacons active. Now I have turned many, perhaps most of them off because I had too many people in the settlements and really no more room or desire to mess with putting up more beds and crops and defenses and all that stuff. But I went ahead and turned on as many beacons as I could conveniently get to. It is far more than 8 and still no joy. The final thing that I tried was simply moving Preston Garvey to the castle, thinking that perhaps having him physically located there could somehow force advance the quest. That didn't do it either. So we are out of things that I can try that do not involve looting. So next week we are going to have to try doing some things like perhaps letting Paladin dance out of the basement finally after all this time, or maybe completing some other quests that have been languishing in our quest log in a way that might somehow interact with form ranks and eventually defend the castle. But one way or another, next week is the finale. I hope that you're very much looking forward to that. There will probably be one additional video in this series after next week. I have some plans to do some reflection on the run overall and maybe tie up a few loose ends, answer some questions that I have about what happens after the end of the game with this kind of unusual set of circumstances that we find ourselves in. I hope very much that you all are looking forward to that, and if you are and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? The series is almost over, but we've got plenty of other content to look forward to. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. It does help my channel grow. That is no joke. And if you disliked, please tell me why in a comment, because a dislike without context means that I don't know what I should be doing to improve my content and make better content for you. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nacho Bidness, and I'm saying it's a great big wasteland out there. Let's go have fun in it.